removing the water pump. Going to drain the radiator. There's a petcock right down here. I'll try to turn that. Now I'm going to take the old water pump off. Bolts are 10 millimeter. Not very tight at all. They're going to be different size as well, so make note of that when you take them off. Five or six of them, not quite sure yet. There is a 12 millimeter bolt here that's being shared with the bracket that holds the alternator. So got to get that one off. All the rest have been 10 millimeter. And you know, they're not torqued very tight at all. So we'll make note of that when we put the pump back on. I'll try to find the spec, but definitely don't want to crank the bolts on. Just kind of position that out of the way. So the last bolt, I thought something might be wrong with it. It was a lot harder to turn than the other ones, and it broke off in the housing. So I'm gonna have to try to find a housing somewhere, probably at a local store. I don't think I'll have time to order it online, but yeah, I bought a kit that just had the new pump, and so we're to the wise here. Make sure that you get the whole housing if you're going to buy a kit, or just replace the pump itself. Just get the housing, and if you may be able to find one with the, you know, the whole pump and the housing together. I wished I would have done that. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to get that out. And here's the end. It just broke off. You can see it rusted. So it's being at the very bottom there, I guess water settled there a lot. And here's a look at the new one. This is a Dorman, like 54 bucks. I had to get it at a store. I didn't want to wait till it. I didn't want to wait until it got delivered, because I didn't know when that would be. To remove the housing, two 10 millimeter nuts, and under here we've got a wrench on. You can see there's two nuts. I believe they're nuts, maybe both. I think they're nuts to be removed there. So shouldn't be too difficult. I may have to remove the filter. We'll see. We have the 4 nuts off the water pump housing. So we've got the tubes here. And then we have the thermostat housing. So we have to remove the thermostat housing. This we've got some flexibility. There it goes, came right out. Once the 4 nuts are loosened, I may be able to pull it off, but I was having trouble because there is an O-ring on that tube there. It keeps the housing from coming off so easy. I had to get a screwdriver, put it in here, and just pry past that O-ring, clear down here underneath. There we go. Cleaning where the housing is going to go. Okay, we're going to replace this O-ring here. Alright, so here was the old one. We had a gasket in here. And here's that O-ring that was on that coolant tube. New gasket, new pump. Just pushing these down, seating those. Okay, and here's my new O-ring that's going to go over this coolant tube. I did lube it up with a little bit of dielectric grease. Really easy to put on. Here's the old thermostat. Had a jiggle pin, at the top. So if you have a new one, that's how you want to put it in. This one here doesn't have a jiggle pin. I'm just going to put it in like that. Just put it in like that. Putting the new gasket on. So our nuts here, 78 inch-pounds. Which is not too much. Just kind of remember how much it was when you took them off. You can use a torque wrench if you like. Sorry for the wind noise. We got some kind of storm coming in, I guess. Let me share with you where the bolt size, different sizes go. So when I took the old one off, I placed the long bolts where they're supposed to go, but I decided not to use them because I got on new bolts. So if these bolts fit into the new housing okay, the reason I say that is because these bolts are from a different brand, so I'm assuming they're going to fit. But anyway, there is a long one and a shorter one, and there's 3 of each. So let's just say this is the bottom right here of the pump. So we've got long, 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 and then at the top we've got short, short, and then right here is short. That's actually where the kind of the bottom is. That's actually the one that broke on me. So yeah, and then we've got this one here, which is a 12 millimeter that's bigger, and it's shared with the alternator bracket. So pretty simple. Long, 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 short, short, short. I'm going to go ahead and put my new gasket in place. So I loosened this earlier. I'm going to take this off before putting the water pump on. Got the spring over here. Alright, that'll be easier to do. Got the bolt started. Now when I put the gasket on, kind of flimsy. I had to use a little bit of gasket maker to kind of tack on it so that it would stay in place once my bolts were in there, because it kept wanting to come out beyond the bolts, and it was kind of difficult, so I had to pull it back and start again. Once I got it kind of tacked with the gasket maker, started out on this side here with the longer bolts and started those in because it's kind of hard to see over here. They're longer, so you know, you can have more opening over here to make sure that your small ones are catching the gasket. And so that's kind of how I put it on. And the bolts should be tightened at 78 inch-pounds. Go down here to the bottom, tighten that one. Then I'll go to the center. I'll do the same over here. I'll go to the top, bottom, center. Here's our new one. Put a new spring on as well. Before putting the bolt in, put the pulley around this stud here. Put the spring on its stud. And I'm just going to just put it in there right now, because we're going to have to make some adjustments before we put the belt on, and even after. So I'm just going to kind of put it hand tight. Got our new idler pulley. Put that on. Before putting it on, I've got the bolt here. I'm going to put some thread sealer on. Probably 3-4 threads at the bottom. You can also get to this underneath. I'll be torquing both of these idler pulleys to 31 foot-pounds. So yeah, that's this idler pulley, and then this tensioner idler pulley here, 31 foot-pounds. Make sure they spin. Go ahead and tighten them down, or tighten this one down. We'll do this one later, like I said before. So we're going to go to 42 Newton meters on this torque. There we are. Okay, next put this back in place with the bolt here that goes through the side of the water pump. And then we'll drop this down, put it in its place. Let's do a spray down on some of these pulleys. Under here, one more final time before we put the belt on. Okay, and this will go right in here. It's on, held on by a stud there. This is part or this is where the cover is going to go in to hold it in place.